Hi guys, I'm Artie, and I'm gonna talk about some books today. So I can't read, but we're gonna talk about them anyway. Okay, bye.
That's so cute. Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about some books I feel like could help you out in a reading slump, or if you're anticipating a reading slump coming on, I would definitely recommend any of these books. I chose these books off of the fact that it has taken me less than 48 hours to read each of these books, and I don't know if that's like a scientific way of determining what book would make a great book to get out of a reading slump. There's a 100% chance that there's no science behind this, but I'm gonna recommend these books anyway. So without further blathering on, here are some books I would recommend if you are in a reading slump or you think you're about to get in one. And just to preface, not all of these books garnered 5 stars for me, so just take all of these recommendations with a grain of salt. Is that the saying? I don't know. The first book I have to show you guys is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. Regardless of the controversy that is going around about this book, I still really like this book, and I'll stand by that. Does it have some, iffy issues? Sure. But I still really liked it. I read it in less than 48 hours, and I liked it so much, I hyped about it enough to get my mom to read it, and she read it in one sitting one night. And we both just really adore this book. And it takes place in Paris. All the characters are super cute and quirky and offbeat, and those are like my kind of characters, so if you haven't already read this book, I definitely recommend it if you need a book that takes no time at all to read and not really a lot of thought. Not trying to be mean about this book, but it really doesn't take a lot of thought. The next book I have to show you guys is Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. This is probably my favorite Morgan Matson book that I have read. I believe this is her second release. This book follows our main character Taylor after her family finds out that their dad has a terminal illness, and so to kind of just commemorate their time together and get their minds off of the tragedy, they decide to spend their last summer together as a family in the Poconos at their lake house, and they haven't been in a really long time, and our main character kind of left some friendships broken off and relationships, kind of cut off, and so she has to mend those. But the best storyline in this book to me was between our main character Taylor and her father. It was just such a touching story, and I just was so moved by it. I cried so hard the last 50 pages of this book because it was so touching. It was so good, and I just love this book. Like I said, this is probably my favorite Morgan Matson book. It's definitely one of my favorite contemporary books, and I read this book in, I think, 2 sittings like I did Anna and the French Kiss, so it took me no time at all to read. It was so moving. I would so recommend this book if you want a book that has a little bit more of a bittersweet ending to it. This was really good. The next book I have to show you guys is Dangerous Girls by Abigail Haas, or Haas, I'm not really sure how to say her last name. This is a book I don't see too much on BookTube, but it is so good, and I don't know why more people don't read it, but it's about our main character Anna, who spends spring break with her friends in Aruba, and her best friend Elise is found murdered in the house that they're staying in, so she, our main character, is on trial for the murder of her best friend. And this book kind of jumps between 2 different points in time, one being when Anna and Elise first meet and how their friendship kind of grows and blossoms, and the other time period being the present with Anna awaiting trial and, waiting to find out the verdict on whether or not she's been declared guilty or not guilty. This book is just so twisty and dark and gorgeously written. The non-linear structure of this book was just so well executed, and I feel like if it was told from point A to point B, following the time of events, I feel like it just wouldn't have been as weird as it was. This book was just so well done. The ending of this book is so crazy, and it'll make you want to put this book in your freezer, and then it'll make you want to go out for a drive because you won't want to be in the same house that this book is in, because it just is one of those just creepy endings. I don't know why I keep doing this with my hand. You will get over the feeling of being traumatized by this book, but you'll look back on it with fond memories of when you thought a book couldn't get any creepier. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. The next book I have to show you guys is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I actually remember the day that I read this. I read it in one setting on Halloween of 2014. I'm not really sure why I read this book on Halloween, but I did, so there's that. I actually remember reading this during the commercial breaks when The Shining was on TV. It was a very odd pairing, this book and The Shining, but you know, whatever works. If you don't know what this book's about, it's about our main character, Lara Jean, who writes these like love letters to her crushes, but she doesn't send them to the boys, she doesn't give them away. She stores it in a hat box under her bed. But then one day, the letters get sent out, and she doesn't know how it happened, but all of the boys at once find out that she has either loved them before or is still in love with them, and cute little drama ensues. This is a book that only got 3.5 stars from me. I felt just in some areas of this book it was just a little too juvenile for me, but that's just total personal preference. If you read this book and you didn't pick up on any of that, I'm not saying that you should have. I'm just saying that that's how I took it, that's how I read it. It did keep me reading though, because this book is basically every girl's worst fears packaged in such a cute wrapping. The next book I have to show you guys is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is a book that when I woke up, I picked it off my bookshelf, read it, and then it was time for me to go to sleep. So basically all I did the day that I read this was read this book. I love this book, but honestly this book you need to read just to experience the gloriousness that is A Court of Mist and Fury, because that book just blows this book out of the water. It is so good. But we're talking about this book. If you don't know what this book is, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's a new adult fantasy. You might consider it young adult. I say it's new adult. Differences, we have them. Moving on. I really enjoyed this novel. This novel. Why did I get so like classy? Our main character Feyre was written very vividly. She felt very real to me, and all the male characters in this book, while I say there are some flaws to them, I do enjoy how well they're written, how different all the characters are. What do people say about this book? This is the longest written prequel ever, and I stand by that statement. You read this book just to finally start the real story, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. I just spit. Oops. The next book I have to show you guys you've probably already heard of, you're probably already very familiar with, but I'm just gonna touch on it briefly, and that is obviously The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I read this book in one sitting because I was on some medication? I was on some medication that kept me housebound, and I couldn't leave the house, and this was before I realized what a gem Netflix is, so I decided to read a book. And this was the book I read. I absolutely loved this book. I'm pretty sure you know what this book's about, so I'm not going to talk about that. Loved this book, and this is definitely my favorite John Green book that I have read. The last book I have to show you guys is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is a book that I did have some problems with. I still read it in one sitting. It was super entertaining, and I loved our main character Madeline. I just loved her curiosity. I mean, she couldn't help but have a curiosity for the world, seeing as how she had never actually entered into the world. Because if you don't know what this book's about, our main character Madeline is allergic to everything ever. Everything, so she never leaves the house. She is a recluse, probably not by choice, definitely has to be because of her condition, and a family moves in next door, and coincidentally there is a boy that is around her age that is also very attractive, so he is interested whenever he sees her staring at him through her window, not repulsed like I would be. And they start up like a little romance, and it's really cute, really interesting. Really enjoyed the way their relationship grows. Even if I had issues with it, I was able to look past those and see that this book was just such a cute contemporary. This book just gives you all the good fuzzies inside of your belly. So I would totally recommend this for a reading slump fix. I keep spitting like, I'm like drooling. I'm so like hungry. I need to eat something. Alright guys, that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye! I sound like a weakling when I say bye. Bye! Oh yeah.
Bye guys.